next part. So what are the issues that have to be considered while designing and implementing a DSP system? So the first thing what we have to look out is we have to check out what is the complexity of the algorithm what you're implementing. Complexity, it might relate to the arithmetic operations what you might be performing or what is the precision requirements. So that is say whether up to how many decimal points I want it. So those all things become handy when you're say considering the DSP system. So that is the complexity involvement. Now, for example, just now we spoke about say the convolution operation. So in that, not much complex calculations are there, but when we consider it, right, you have say addition and multiplication are involved, but along with that, one additional parameter which comes is the time shifting operation. So wherein we have to shift it for different number of sequences, so which can add to the complexity. So that is one thing. Those are the issues what might come under when you're considering the designing and implementing of a DSP system. Then what is the sample rate that has to be considered? Now here, what does this implies is the rate at which the input samples are received and processed. So you have to consider this parameter also. Now what happens is if you're not satisfying this, then you might be having some distortions which are present and which might end in incorrect results. That is what will happen if sampling rate is not proper. Suppose if I'm talking and if the sample rate is not chosen properly, and now you are hearing my voice in a proper form. Suppose you change that sampling rate, you increase it, decrease it. So what happens is you might hear the voice in a slow form wherein it will not be, you will not be able to understand what is being spoken. Or if you increase it, the speed might be very high, and what happens is again in that case also there might be some problem in identifying what are the words which are spoken. So these are the things what you have to consider when you're looking forward for designing and implementing of DSP system. So next is what is the speed you have to consider. So the speed also turns out to be one of the issues what we are considering here. So here it turns out to be what is the throughput which is required for a given system. So that is what we have to look out for. Now here in some cases you have to you might require that the throughput has to be high enough so that say in real times if you're using for example, if you're using in real time, what happens is the measurement and giving the output at a precise time becomes important. For example, if you want to apply a brake in an automotive system, so that this information you have to process up to what pressure it has been applied and PWM this thing has to be produced. So that has to be at a really high speed. Now, if that is slow, then if you're applying the brake here, then after 1 meter it goes and stops. That is not feasible. So if DSP system is involved in this, so those things also come into consideration. Then after that is the data representation. So in later modules, right, we'll come across some of the data formats which are available, which are used in DSP architecture system. So there we'll check out what this actually implies. So here in data representation, one simple thing what we have to consider is suppose I want to identify some state of some device. So then in that case, whether the state, if there are only two states, then one bit is required. If there are multiple states, then depending on how many states are there, those many bits will be required. So this is one, the same number of bits which are required to represent that data. And again, arithmetic precision also becomes handy, and what will be the range of that device what you are measuring, what will be the range, in what range that information will be produced. So those all things have to be considered. Now for example, say there is a device which is producing voltage say in the range of 1.1 to 1.4. So the precision is just in 0.1, but if you want still more than say 0.01, if you want the precision, then I have to make the adjustment and try to design and implement the DSP system in that form. So these are just a few issues what you have to consider when you're designing the DSP system. So next, coming down, what are the types of digital signal processors? So in this one, right, we have two major classifications. One is which is application specific, and the other one which is general purpose. Now the name itself, we can specify general purpose can be used for multiple functionalities, but at the same time it has some advantages and disadvantages. So that is what we have to consider. Say for example, what we have specified here, PCs or workstations. So this can be used for multiple things. Now you have come across few of the things which is specific to some of the functions. For examples, in our case, we need to measure FFT say regularly, or if I want to filter out digital signals, or if I want to perform say specifically a convolution operation. So I can build a processor which will do specifically only those convolutional operations. Apart from that, nothing else. So in this case, what happens is this also again comes with the advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantage is that it will be performing only one specific task for what it is designed for. But advantage would be that it would be much faster, and you might get the accuracy based on the design what you are providing. So these are the things what adds on to application specific processors. Whereas in general purpose processors, what happens is these might be a trade-off. These things, that is accuracy, faster implementation of getting the faster throughput, so, or cost effectiveness. So these all might be a trade-off. But what happens is general purpose processors are not designed for performing only one specific. It can perform multiple tasks together, like FFT, convolution, digital filters, all together. I'll put it, and it can turn out to be a general purpose uh, approach. So apart from this, we have something specified as general programmable digital signal processors. So in this one, what happens is some of the ASPs, that is the application specific processors, are programmable. So that is, you can change some programming aspects in that, and you can make the processors work in that form. For example, one thing which I would like to specify is you have gone through DSP lab, right? In that you are using, say, FPGA. So FPGA, CPLD, so these things. But what happens is I'll not specify it as application specific. Those are general purpose this thing. But in that again, few blocks are present which are specific to some operations. So those parts I'll be able to change it in programmatic way. So FPGA is one, CPLD is another, then SPLD is another. That is programmable logic devices, PLDs. So these are just a few things to specify. And now coming down to next part, that is what is the advantage of having majority of the time which is confined to the processor or chip functions. Now what happens is that is specifically for ASPs when I specify, that is programmable. If the processors are programmable, so what will be the advantage of these? So first of all, since you're implementing only on specific tasks, application specific, so it will be cost effective. Apart from this, since we are speaking of programmable aspect, we can program as per the requirement of the application. Say I want to build an application which gives input to FFT and takes back the result of the FFT and performs some operation. So depending on that, I can program the entire ASP. Then what happens is, since only say few of the functions I am implementing, the design cycle will be very small enough or short enough. So that is what happens. Okay. Now next, this thing what we have to check out is under programmable digital signal processors. Now what are the factors that we have to consider when we are going for programmable processors? Now I cannot directly go for any of the processors if say I have some cost requirement. If I tell that it should not go above 100 rupees, for example, then I should check out which one is feasible. Then what is the speed at which you are getting the result? Again, as I spoke in the previous case, that is, if you're going for real-time processing, speed becomes a concern. So there might be a trade-off between the cost and speed. And what is the throughput? How much you have to get the throughput at the required required state or not. So these are the things what you have to consider. Then what will be the power consumption? So whenever we are speaking of DSP, power consumption is one of the major factors which come into consideration. So then precision, capability, what are its arithmetic facilities which are available. So these are the things what we have to look out for when we are looking for programmable DSPs. That is, these are the factors what we have to consider. So moving down to the next part, that is major features of the DSP. Okay. So these are just a few things. Please make a note of these things because these are few of the special features of digital signal processors. Some special features of digital signal processors which might not be present in your other processors such as microprocessor or microcontrollers. So these are few additional which differentiate it from the others. So first thing which comes is one is multiply and accumulate hardware. So in this one, what happens is we have say for example in your say the previous microprocessors, you had separate this thing for multiplication and separate this one for accumulation hardware, separate hardware for each. But in DSP processors, you might find one special hardware which does both multiply and accumulate. Now, where and all it will be helpful is you might have seen in a few of the techniques something called as overlap and add, overlap and save methods. You might have come across these things, right, in DSP. So there, what happens is you are doing a number of things. You are multiplying, you are saving, you are multiplying, you are adding with the previous results. So what is happening is you are accumulating the overall results and then you are getting the final result. So in such cases, in order to increase the throughput, increase the speed at which the operation is performed, we can have a specialized hardware for that, which does multiply and accumulate. Apart from this, what happens is we have another instruction set also which helps us in achieving these things. So it will make use of these hardware and get us better result. So this is one first thing. What is important in this? Next one is the Harvard architecture. So what is the other architecture which is present, which you have gone through? Hmm? What is the other?
Von Neumann architecture.
Von Neumann architecture. So what happens in that? And what is the typical this thing in von Neumann architecture?
Code and data will be stored in same memory, sir.
A program and
Data, sir.
Data is stored in the same memory. Locations are different, but it is having the same memory. So that what happens is now, since as I'm speaking that speed is an issue, so many things we are just talking, right? Sorry. So many things we are speaking about. See, complexity or sampling rate, what we're choosing, speed, throughput. Then say data representation is different thing. Then so I think we have come across so many things. Okay, so here what happens is how do I say go ahead and improve the overall system in terms of again say architecture or the hardware point of view. So one is multiply and accumulate what we spoke. So next one is using Harvard architecture. Harvard architecture. So in this one, what happens is we have two separate memory spaces, which will be given for program memory separate and data memory separate. Can anyone tell why this has been done? For what purpose it might be useful? can anyone just inform me or just discuss or just tell what this thing separate memory is provided?
Sir, pipeline.
Yes, pipelining uh, and anything else. Parallel processing, keeping the data ready for the next this thing. So as you just spoke, pipelining, then parallel processing. So these are just a few things what we can go ahead and check out. Okay. So program memory is separate, data memory is separate. So here what happens is when this is the case, I think you have gone through timing diagram in your say microprocessor or microcontroller. So in that, if you just observe, or in DSP, this thing also you have seen some timing diagrams, right? What happens is first is you decode what is the instruction, and then based on the instruction, you decide whether the next byte is data or whether it is something else or whether it is a register. So something of these kinds. Let's say you have written move A comma B. So I have to first decode what is meant by move, and next I have to mention say if it is move, what is the next value which follows. So move occupies, say mnemonic occupies around 1 byte of memory. After 1 byte, what falls? So what I can do is I got to know, okay, this is move instruction, so next will be to this thing. So parallelly I can go and fetch the data from the data memory instead of waiting for the program memory to finish its instruction. So that is what we look out in these things. That is, Harvard architecture will be having two separate spaces for memory, one for program and one for data. Next one which comes is zero overhead looping. Now in this case, what happens is now when you're providing loop instructions, right? In a software, generally it is decided by the software itself. That is, you write say for loop, and in that for loop what happens is depending on the condition your endpoint is decided. But here, so that is done by hardware itself. But here instead of going ahead with sorry, that is done by software, pardon me, that is done by software. But if I want to improve these things, then what I do is I give that authority to the hardware which does this operation at a pretty faster rate. So that is what it specifies, zero overhead looping. So loop endpoints are determined by the hardware, and it is not the software which determines it. So this actually increases the speed at which the loop is being executed as compared to execution when it goes ahead with the say software aspect. The same for loop, you have hardware, so you give it over there because hardware operations will be much faster compared to the software operations what are being performed. So that is what happens. Now here we have one statement which specifies loops are the heart of the DSP algorithms. Now can anyone tell me why this statement? So already I have written it, but can anyone tell me why the statement comes over here? Loops are the heart of the DSP algorithms. So in DSP algorithms, have you observed that in majority of the times you are using summation or integration along with the multiple this thing. So for example, here we have specified convolution operation. So if you just observe convolution operation, what happens is if you want to estimate the first, say first element of the entire sequence. So what you do, you put say n or m is equal to 0 and process entire thing. Then again what you do, next this thing you put m or n is equal to 1 and to process the entire thing. So on continues. So what is happening, you are looking forward for something as a looping over here. So in order to say instead of wasting the time using the software, what we can do is we can seek in for the hardware for that, because in majority of the cases of the DSP algorithms we see the loops which are present. So that is what you look out for. So next one is specialized hardware addressing or specialized addressing. So you have two types of addressings which you can look out for. The regular ones are you send the address directly to this thing and then you operate it. But in a few of the cases you might have observed, for example, what we have specified here, modular circular addressing. Now you have seen circular convolution, right? You might have gone through that circular convolution. So what happens? You have the same sequence, but you are multiplying it in you are convolving it in a circular fashion. If you remember, it is different from the linear convolution what we have. The same sequence is rotated again and again, and you'll be getting the result. You have some shortcut method also, so why not use it in this form? So what happens is you have to look out from specialized addressing. One is the modulo or circular addressing. Example is say a circular convolution where you're using, or the digital filter delay lines what you're using. So next one comes in the bit reversed addressing. So this you have used in FFT and IFFT. So a decimation in time, decimation in frequency, in those you have observed that you require bit reversed addressing. Say if at input end you have given the sequence x of 1. So 1 is say for example it is say if it is 8 8 length sequence. So in that case, what happens? One will be 0001, but at the other end, it will be 1000. So you'll be getting the result in that form. So on that line, if you remember that, so wait, just check if it is there. Here, is this PPT visible?
Yes, sir. Visual.
Yeah, can see the butterfly diagrams over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So bit reverse addressing as I was just talking, right? Second. So I was talking regarding this. So here we can just observe. So here it is x0, here it is x of 0. If the input at this point is x of 4 and there are 8 sequences, that means total 3 bits are required. So here 4 is what? It is 100. Therefore, if I bit reverse this, that is this one, if I bit reverse this, it turns out to be 001. Therefore, you have x of 1. This one turns out to be same 010, that is this index value. So the bit reverse address is also, in this case it is 010. Now here I'll take this one, x of 3 is 011. So if I reverse it, last bit first and first bit last, so it is 110, which is 6. So in order to perform such kind of operations, right, you have to use bit reverse addressing concept. Okay. So that is what I have to perform in this case. Okay. Any queries up to this point? So in previous class, I had asked you to get some differences, right, or comparisons.